Hi, you guys. Welcome to Open Space. This is the fifth episode of the segment of Black Lives Matter. Today, we'll be discussing the blackout having Black women, Black men, and the Black LGBTQ plus community, and discussing the fact that there's a lot of division amongst ourselves in the community and how we can resolve and identify them correctly. So who wants to introduce themselves? Let's start with Shana.
Hi, my name is Shana Fillmore. I'm from Germany, from Bavaria, Nuremberg, and I'm part of Open Space. I'm interested in hearing all of the opinions to the certain matters and eager to learn more.
What's up, everyone? My name is Kelechi Bay Lamberts. I live in New York State, upstate New York, originally born in Nigeria, immigrated here at a young age. And I am here to have a good conversation, network, be able to really just listen and be able to hopefully not just talk about problems, but also try to develop solutions that we can be able to share with one another that is reasonable and feasible for all of us.
Yo, I go by the name of Mr. Strange. I'm a rapper from the UK, West London. I don't know, I guess I'm a gay man. I guess that's relevant in this conversation. I'm here to listen to what everyone has got to say and maybe share some of my opinions and just see where we can go with the conversation.
Hello, my name is Nia. I am from the USA. I grew up in Illinois and I currently still reside in Illinois. I'm interested in really just seeing everybody's feedback and their input. I agree that I really am here really to try to problem solve. I feel like we all are aware of the issues that we have within our communities, but we just don't know where to start the healing process or to start the actual problem solving process for the next generations.
Hey, I'm Tash. I am based in Germany. I am Zimbabwean. Been out here about 9-10 years. So I'm kind of Zim German, if there's ever such a thing. Hashtag integrated. Anyway, I am an artist and also a queer woman. Listen, learn, hear, and hopefully come up with some things that spark some kind of motivation and solve some issues as well.
Hi, I'm Tianna. I'm from London, and I'm here to start a conversation, get solutions, and I'm really passionate about abolishing the hate within our own community because it's our own people that will be hating. I'm a queer woman. I feel like we get a lot of abuse from our own people, and we need to keep talking about it so that it can stop, and highlighting how bad it is and how when you care about Black lives, you have to care about all Black lives and not just straight Black men. It has to be all of us.
Cornelius?
Hey guys, I'm Cornelius. I'm 23 years old. I was born and raised in Germany. I'm also Ghanaian and member of the LGBTQ plus community. And I'm glad to be here with you guys in this meeting, and I'm excited.
What do you want to gain from this conversation today?
Change and a lot of discussion, understanding, a lot of laughter.
Hi, I'm Joy. I'm from Germany. I'm 25 years old, and I was on the very first conversation that Ivy had with all the women, and that was really exciting. And I'm just curious to see what we're going to talk about, how everyone feels about this topic, and just exciting to be part of this group.
So my name's Emmanuel. I'm from London, Ghanaian heritage as well. I'm 30. I work in IT recruitment at the moment, and I'm a budding filmmaker. I'm here for obviously an interesting conversation to hear, sort of other people's point of views on the same subject from obviously different walks of lives. So I think it'll definitely be interesting.
So let's get started. So the first question I have for you guys, do you believe there's a division amongst ourselves in the Black community, besides from the Black Lives Matter perspective, but also just in general?
Absolutely. There definitely is division, especially with our, not just our self when it comes to cultural divide. There's a lot of division when it comes to our intersecting identities, as mentioned already by my sister in London. It's when it comes to just who has to be the right, authentic Black one, right? What does it mean to be authentically Black. We still find ourselves, despite everything else that's going on in the world, we still find ourselves infighting to determine who's the realest Black person in the world. I don't understand it, but that's what it is, right? We have this division between, Black immigrants or African immigrants. I say Black because they include those in the Caribbean as well, and African Americans here in the United States, right? There's this struggle here in my country, or in this country, to determine who's the most authentic, right? And then even when you talk about in Africa, you have this battle between Nigerians internally about who's the realest one, Yoruba, Igbo, and then in Ghana, you're arguing between Nigerians and Ghanaians about jollof rice, and so like this. I that's more of a lighter note type of thing, but there's always some infighting. Some are playful and some are more tense. I mean, especially the homophobia that exists in the Black community that has been imposed by white Christian principles has created such a cancer that has divided us. And I haven't even started talking about the trans community, right? And what that has done and the struggle that it means for that, right? A really good perspective to really understand what's going on. If you ever watch the show Pose, it's a very powerful piece that shows, like series that shows the insight of what it is to be Black and all the divisions that happen within our own community. There's so many things. So there is a lot of tension that we need to be able to bridge among all Black lives.
Definitely, I agree. I think, like Kelechi said, there is a lot of division and we are dissected because there is a lot of differences. But I feel like at the same time, we've got to celebrate our differences. If you get what I'm trying to say, like, understand that, okay, we're all Black, we're all under the umbrella of Black, yeah, but obviously I'm different from you and you're different from me, and that's okay. When we look at, like, sort of other races, sort of white, Chinese, they probably have, sort of the same divisions, the same things that, obviously, like Kelechi said, like homophobia, different things from different countries. Like over here in the UK, we recently just come out of Europe, and there's a lot of stigma around, sort of people that come from, sort of more like the eastern part of Europe as well. So I feel like these divisions that we have within the Black community they're not only our struggles, if you get what I'm trying to say, it's the whole world, because everybody wants to identify with something. But I think the most important thing is just to celebrate our differences and understand that we're all people at the same time.
I feel like we should definitely celebrate our differences and our different cultures. I was just thinking that I feel like it's more a significant thing in the Black community. It hurts more because as Black people, we're trying to survive in this world that institutionally put us in a way that they don't want us to, and we're getting killed, we're getting incarcerated. In order for us to overcome that, to fight, we need to stick together. Other races, with their differences in their communities, it's just a given. But with us, our differences, there's hate that comes with it. We can't have that hate when we're trying to dismantle the system, when we're trying to work together and stop them from killing us, stop institutional racism. I don't know, I feel like we need to fight together. We need to celebrate our differences, but we can't have hate towards the differences. It hurts more when there's hate within our community because we're suffering enough. We can't get suffering from our own.
I agree with you.
I have something, Ivy. I think that also too, I know everybody was more so looking at it through different lenses. However, I feel like in our community as well, we fight over economic things as well. Because it's like, oh, well, I grew up here and you grew up there, so I'm better than you. Or, oh, I'm from this part of the US and you're from there, so my state's better than yours, my city's better than yours. So it's like, although we're fighting between like, okay, well, I'm just a regular Black woman, identify as straight, and I don't have those extra layers, it's like we still have other battles too that are just so petty and minute. Like, why do you feel like you have to be better than me just because you're from a different place? So it's like we're fighting so many different battles. On top of that, you get overcrowded by the Black Lives Matter movement, which we have stated before, that it only seems to appear to be for Black men, and then Black men that are killed by the police. Okay, well, who's standing up for the Black man that was your homie that just got killed? Where's that justice? Is it just street justice that y'all don't really get all the time? Or do y'all want to see them locked up too? So it's like, it's so many different layers and we just don't explore all of them. We can't demand that Black Lives Matter if you're not including every single component of it.
Kelechi, you will raise your hand.
Nia had mentioned is important. I want to add that in regards to not just it being territorial, because you do have that. Like me being raised in Chicago, I know what it is to have the battle between those from the south side versus those from the west side of Chicago. And then those who are north side are perceived as like bougie or rich or whatever. But even when it comes down to when it comes to this Black Lives Matter movement, I'll tell you something that stood out to me that really annoyed me, right? I had a family member of mine, it's sometimes to be your own people, but like I had a family member of mine who went on Facebook and put on his status, and this is why I'm not on Facebook normally, but I saw this, where mentioned that the Black Lives Movement is polluted because the Black Lives Movement does not include Black men, right? And it now has taken on the LGBTQ plus agenda, which is a ploy by the white man who has been used to be able to, who's using Black people to push their own agenda of homosexuality, to be able to reduce Black population, right? And obviously there's a lot of holes in that argument. But what I'm saying is that this is the type of stuff that people are saying, right? The common person who just believes that Black men need to be added into this movement in order for it to matter, right? And that, going along what Nia mentioned, is just, and it spreads like a wildfire because you have so many idiots out there who believe, yeah, this is true, and don't take into account that it's not just you. Like, being a Black man does not make you the savior of the Black race. You know what I mean? But I'll digress there. I just wanted to put that out there in addition to what she said.
Yeah, if I could just jump in quickly and go off the back of what Kelechi was saying. I completely agree with like a load of points that he made, and I feel that there is a lot of misinformation, and I feel like Black people and just people in general, to be honest, need to a bit of research and understand what they're fighting for and the people who they are working with. For example, Black Lives Matter, people associate themselves with the Black Lives Matter movement, one, because of the movement, but also I think people associate more to the wording Black Lives Matter. We all agree, and there is no misunderstanding that Black lives matter, should matter, will always matter, always have mattered. Although that hasn't been reciprocated in actions, they do matter. But I think the movement that people decide to march under is misunderstood. Black Lives Matter was created by two lesbian women. The founders of Black Lives Matter are two lesbian women, which is, I think, a lot of people don't know. I'm not saying if you knew that, you should or shouldn't still support, but I'm saying decide who you want to follow on the basis of facts, rather than just because you heard a slogan and you like it and everyone's on social media doing the same thing. If you actually look into the Black Lives Matter about page, you'll find that it states somewhere along the lines of they want to dismantle the already set up homonormative foundation that we've been raised upon. And that isn't necessarily the angle that I feel a lot of other Black people that don't want LGBT people included, that's not how they feel. If you're going to support a movement like Black Lives Matter, you should understand what their goal is. And it is not just solely about freeing Black people. It also goes into, like I said, heteronormative in the context of that, and a lot of other things as well. Obviously, me personally, there is a lot of hate between Black people and people that are in the LGBT community. But I just wanted to bounce off that one point that Kelechi made. I just think that people, if you're going to support Black Lives Matter, just understand what it's about. Make sure that you're not just supporting a phrase, you're supporting the whole movement. You can't march under something and not understand what it's about.
Yeah, I have a question. So as you said that you feel that there's a lot of hate towards the LGBTQ plus community in the Black community, why do you guys feel that way? Is it because of, the homophobia? What is actually like identifying what causes it? What is the issue? Because at the end of the day, we are all people. We are all one race. Shana?
I have the feeling it's like deeply rooted into Black culture just in general. They don't really think about why they're homophobic or why they have a problem with it. It's just something they grew up with. And a lot of people don't like just sit back and think about like why they really have that opinion. I just think that if people would just like sit down and just like really think about what they're saying or why they're homophobic, they would realize that it really doesn't make any sense. And especially being Black, you do know how it feels to be judged by something you can't change and judged by something you're just born with. Being Black and being part of the LGBTQ plus community is like two things you didn't choose, which just makes you a minority. people just need to sit down and really think about what they've been taught, and that just realize that it's wrong and just change that behavior and those thoughts.
I just wanted to say that when it comes to why, the question why that is there and why we feel that way, for me, as an African person who really treasures my culture, I have learned that this is, for my culture, which is Southern Africa, is not a cultural problem. It's actually a problem that came with colonialism and Christianity, right? So in our culture, gay people were actually honored because they were thought to be the wisest. In our culture, trans people were the advisors for people because they were said to have the best of both worlds. So it amazes me how from that colonialism happens and all of that, and suddenly our culture starts saying that, yes, this is part of our culture that isn't a good thing, and start shunning people and disowning people. And you have it in churches. I don't know about other countries, but we have camps as well in Zimbabwe where, you know, you're sent there to go and get cleansed of your gayness, your queerness, your whatever you'd like to call it at this point. So I know for sure that it didn't come from us. I know it's also in the same line with this team light skin. Lord, shoot me if I see another post that says anything about that, but it's in the same level. It's a foreign thing. It doesn't belong to us, but for some reason, we carry it on so boldly. And that's the thing that I don't understand. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, but from the girl from London, she said that it hurts more when it's from your own people, you know? And it's the same thing, like if you're in your house and your parents say, oh, look at him with his big ears, it doesn't hurt when your parents say it. When a complete stranger points out your ears, it's a big problem, even though at home they say it 20 times. You know, it's a problem that I feel doesn't belong to us, but is embedded within us, and we need to solve that. And we need to also really realize where exactly this hate timeline started amongst ourselves. Yeah.
Nia?
I agree. She said it before I could. It was the Christianity component. And for me, I feel like that because I grew up Christian, of course, and, you know, church 3 days a week, all of the good stuff. And it's preached over the pulpit. It's preached at the altar. It's, oh, you're gay, you know, that is an abomination, and that's your automatic sentence to hell, and we have to pray that demon off of you. And so we do have those camps. I've heard of those camps and stuff in the US as well, where they think that you can just pray it out of people. For me, like growing up hearing that, I thought something was wrong with it. But it's like when you really educate yourself, when you really start learning things, you learn that sometimes people are born like that, and it's not their fault. They have extra chromosomes, or they have extra this or that, and they're a child. They don't think about it in the same capacity that we do. I think people think of homosexuality and they immediately go to sex. They're not thinking of compatibility or like actual interest. The other thing too, where you were saying like, okay, there was a point in time where they were celebrated. That was also the same with Native Americans. I watched a documentary where the trans community was extremely celebrated, and like you said, they were looked at as being very wise. How do we take something and then just completely pollute it? And also too, I think that another struggle within the Black community and homosexuality is being on the down low. I think that that was something else that made it very, very challenging to accept, because it was, oh, well, I'm with my man and blah, 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 blah. And then really your man like men. And so I think that since it was hidden for so long, that makes it even worse, because now people have a negative connotation with it. All of those things are an extreme barrier when it comes to homosexuality.
It is definitely embedded in religion. And I also feel like the patriarchy plays a big part in it, because toxic masculinity, it affects men, but it affects Black men in a completely different way. There's so much more pressures for them to be this tough, straight man that they actually, they get so defensive if someone calls them gay, or that. I feel like the reason they're homophobic is because of the pressures of the patriarchy and the pressures that are put on Black men, and socially their whole friend group, like you can't, especially like in the area I grew up in South London, being a Black man and gay, you can't tell your friends that. They'll beat you up. And that's because Black men, there's pressure for them to be straight, more pressure than white men. Because I feel like there's more homophobia in straight Black men than straight Black women in our community. And it's normally the men that are more homophobic and transphobic, and there's lack of education in our community, and it's a whole cycle because the parents aren't educated and their children, and it goes on, and then their friends are not educated, and it's just a learned, ingrained thing in our own community. I feel like we need more education. There needs to be a lot of unlearning, and it's a lot of insecurity as well, because it's seemed as feminine to be gay. To be a Black man, there's pressures to be strong and to be masculine, and so they don't want to do this feminine thing. They bash others for being feminine, and I feel like it's just going to take a long time to unlearn that, because it's been embedded for years and years and years from religion, and then the patriarchy. It's been embedded so much.
Just to obviously like jump in and come off what you're saying as well, I think it's all those things that you're saying, but I think also the whole thing about slavery plays a big part, where obviously men were emasculated. Men had to watch, sort of their families, their women be raped and abused. I felt like they weren't actual men. So obviously it's all that oppression that makes them feel like, right, I have to be the Superman, or I have to be that perfect man, or I have to be what society's ideals are of me. So I think definitely from what you said, there is more hate there. I don't know about, sort of other communities, like, sort of very traditional white people, or people that you can consider almost like Nazis or whatever. I don't know what their actual viewpoints are, but it might be similar to obviously the way we view things. But I can see definitely, if you've had a group of people that have been oppressed in every single way in society, made almost like they're not human, obviously when they have a chance and opportunity, they're trying to show the world that they're this perfect image of what a man is. But I think obviously the solution, as everybody's been saying, is just, first of all, obviously education. Secondly, the first thing that I said is just to understand that, as people, we're all different. There's so many differences in the way that we even think and understand the same conversation. And we just need to be in a place where we're able to celebrate our differences and accept each and every one person for who they are.
Okay, so one of the main things that's going on right now in America is the representation of the LGBT community in kids' TV shows. One of the biggest things, I feel like the reason people are so uncomfortable with homosexuality and the LGBT community is because everybody's uncomfortable with what's different. Adding a representation to them, to the kids shows, to show like kindergartners, fourth graders, that it's okay to be different, it's okay to like different. While some people may view that as a bad thing, I do believe that representation of everybody is a good thing. The more that they put that out there, and the more kids are exposed to transgenders, feminine men or feminine women, or extra chromosome men, extra chromosome women, the more they'll like accept it, the more it won't be like a turnoff, or their eyebrows won't raise. Because we didn't see our first transgenders until we was almost 20. We just heard they was bad. You get what I'm saying? Learned in the church that homosexuality was an abomination. And they don't actually teach sexuality in America anyway. So well, you will be surprised at how many people, as they get older, they tend to walk different lines, like of whether they're straight, bi, gay, or, you know what I'm saying? Most people are non-binary, as it seems nowadays. So like I said, one of the biggest things I think that'll help is representation for everybody.
So, I just want to add really quickly, because I think a couple points before we move on is, one, just to address what Tianna, what she was saying in regards to the patriarchy and religion. I think that was a common thing that we all said, as far as how religion, not necessarily to its fault, but how it's been manipulated and used as a weapon to manipulate us and essentially shape our perspectives about how we view not just others, but how we view ourselves. Now, I will argue one thing, not argue, but I will say that I disagree with the point that it's mostly Black men. I think that Black men have been put on the forefront in our community to be the ones who are the primary, more homophobic people. But real talk, y'all would be surprised how many Black women don't like that either. Because, and not to say that social media is a be all end all of it, but it is where most of the conversations happen. If you click on something that has to do with homosexuality and a non-homosexual person's page or something like that, you'll see, like, go to Baller Alert or something, like, you'll see all the women that have a lot of homophobic statements regarding it. So I'm saying it's coming from both ends. You just be surprised internally what's happening. Now, furthermore, to what Brother Aaron was talking about in regards to the exposure, lots of people are scared about that because they believe that it's an infection to the mind of third graders or whatever, that why they seeing is why you trying to teach. There's this belief that you can teach someone to be gay. I don't understand, but there's that belief that you being gay is a choice. You weren't born that way, as Nia had mentioned. You weren't born that way, but it's something that you can learn to do, that you can just learn to have that preference, like it's picking ice cream or something. And that then is something that you start to see a lot in the media. You start to see it in the conversations we have, because religion tells us that the nuclear family is father, mother, kids, married, right? Kids were born in wedlock. So anything that's against that is against God. And how can you argue against God? Because you can't see God, you can only feel God in your spirit and around you. So how do you argue against that as somebody who's saying that they are an actual extension of God, who's a pastor in a pulpit? You believe it because you have been born, you have life, life is good, you've been blessed. So how do you go against what God wants, which is this nuclear family? And then, you know, you start to think about, well, anything that's gay or homosexual or from the LGBTQ plus community is hypersexualized. So then you have Black men who, as Tianna mentioned, are very sensitive and very insecure about their masculinity, because now you see a gay person, this has happened many times with close brothers of mine that I had to put in check, where you see someone that's gay, it's like, yo, bro, I gotta get away. And I'm like, nigga, they not finna try to have sex with you. Like, what is wrong with you, bro? You in the club trying to get at a chick. Is she gonna go for you? No, not every girl's gonna go for you. So then you think a dude is trying to holler at you just automatically trying to smash? Like, I had to put my bros and like, think about it, man. They're in the minority of the community. They have to be very selective about who they pick to holler at. So how you think they trying to smash you? Like, not every gay person trying to turn you out. But there is this self-centered narcissistic behavior that Black men have that leads them to be very, very defensive when it comes to seeing someone that is, you know, whatever, that's gay. And not every gay person is feminine, but we see it a lot on TV. Comedians joke about it a lot. All the things that we consume put this image that being gay or being lesbian, like, I'll tell you this and I'll stop. But like, for Black men, looking at lesbian or women engage in sexual acts is cool. That shit's sexy. If I see two women at it, that's good. We at it. Where the lotion at? Whatever. But then at the end of the day, if it's two dudes though, now we uncomfortable, right? Like, it's so there's still that divide. That's when the toxic masculinity comes in as well, where you want to pick and choose what you find satisfactory, right? And religion plays a role with that, because Nia, you said you go to church 3 times a week. You realize that the Bible will tell you that we're all equal. Women can do this, women can do that. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to certain things, now women have to be submissive. It is manipulated to use and control, and that's what has been done. So that's why there's a huge difference between being religious and being spiritual, in my opinion. And we have to start thinking more about how we can be able to transition and use our spirituality to actually help one another, instead of using religion to manipulate and infect one another.
I have a question. How do we begin to dismantle these thoughts? Because like you said, like, it comes from Black women too, and other women as well, the homophobic statements, etc. For me, I'll be vulnerable. I'll put myself out there and be transparent. For me, I can't date a guy that's bisexual. Mm-hmm. I just can't. I can't really explain why, but it's just like, oh no, I'm fine. Like, I'm cool. So it's like, how do you begin to dismantle it? It's like, no, I'm not gonna treat you any differently, or, you know what I mean? Nothing like that. But it's just like, that's not my cup of tea. Like, how do you navigate those feelings? Because when I've had these conversations with friends, they like, oh, well, that makes you homophobic. And it's like, well, damn, I don't have anything against what he chooses. Like, that's not for me. So it's like, how do you go between I'm okay, I'm good with what I prefer and what I like, and how does that change it to where you're homophobic? I really just want to know.
Also, I want to add to that question. Because Nia, what you said, like the same question goes to like transphobia. Like, am I transphobic if I wouldn't want to date a transphobic man?
Yeah, like I really just want to know, like, because I don't know how to navigate that. It's like I really want to be progressive. I want to learn. I want to do all those things. But in reality, I wouldn't date you.
Can I ask you, Nia and Shana, something then?
Yes.
Obviously, I completely understand what you're saying, and it does make sense on like a personal level. Obviously, you don't know, or you don't feel that that's something that you would go for. But then I don't really have an answer as to how we would sort to dismantle that. But then I feel the one thing we have to think about is understanding obviously what it is you're disliking. Is it the action that if someone else was bisexual, you wouldn't be happy with them dating, they might have been with, you know, someone of the same sex previously? Is it that, or is it because of what you've been taught? You have to understand where this dislike, this hate, whatever it is you wanna call it. I mean, I'm sure in your cases, I'm not taking it as hate. But where is it coming from? Is it coming from something that I don't like? Because me, I don't date women. I'm gay. You know, that's not something that I've chosen to do. But obviously, I'm just trying to understand where this set of ideas or feelings that you have has come from. And I would argue that maybe it hasn't come from necessarily like yourself. We've been taught subliminally for years about what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to like, who we're supposed to date. And I feel it rubs off on you. There isn't any one answer to answer that question, but I feel like one thing you have to do is understand and love. You have to understand each other. Me, I wouldn't say I would be against dating someone that's transgender. I look at the person, you know, what are you, are we compatible spiritually, emotionally, physically? And if all those boxes check out, anything else other than that is just something that adds to your experience as that person. I would just maybe say, like, I don't know, maybe try and think about like, where does it come from?
Okay, for me, it wasn't like that I wouldn't date one. I just meant, like, me personally, I would. I was just asking, like, how would you explain that to a person? But like, I couldn't explain it, and I wouldn't call that person transphobic because of it. Because there's also like pansexuality. That means like that you don't have a specific gender that you love. So if you're heterosexual,
what would you call that then? If you wouldn't call that transphobic, like someone that would refuse to date someone that's transgender, then if we're gonna I'm finding it hard to understand, because obviously there's issues within like the LGBT community, and there's issues within like the Black community in terms of racism. And obviously I don't want to conflate the two, because obviously there's always this big argument that you can't compare the two struggles. But what I'm trying to say is it racist that a Black person would refuse to date a white person, or a white person would refuse to date a Black person? Can we compare the two in terms of refusing to date a transgender person? If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I personally don't believe that your personal preferences make you transphobic, racist, or like, to say you wouldn't date a white person, I don't necessarily believe that makes you racist just on the preference of it, because there's so many aspects that go on in a Black man's life or a Black woman's life that I feel like your partner may never be able to connect with or understand. In that very same sentiment, if you're a gay person and you're dating somebody that's bisexual, or that like kind of chooses when they want to show their sexuality, you're getting a lot of backlash for your choices, and they're picking and choosing their backlash for their choices. And it's not fair. So I believe your personal preferences don't make you transphobic, homophobic, or anything. But what I will say is, modern times have us trained to believe that it's okay for women to be gay, bi, or whatever. They view women as a sexual object, and monogamy would basically say that it's okay. In the very same sentence, they would tell you that it's not okay for a male to be gay, whether he's white or Black. And I believe you see a lot of the scrutiny comes in when you talk about males that's bisexual, gay, or, you know, they just don't have a non-binary. We have to show that homosexuality has literally been a part of life for forever. When we go back and redo the history books and tell the real stories on the things that happened, and you learn so much stuff, start telling the LGBT community history, and start telling how they helped shape this country too, because they've literally always been there.
Mm-hmm. Emmanuel?
Aaron said pretty much what I wanted to say, to be fair, in terms that if you have certain preferences, I don't necessarily feel that it makes you racist or homophobic. Basically, your preferences of what you look for in seeking a partner or companion. Along with what Mr. Strange said as well, yeah, I think what is also interesting analyze within yourself is where those things actually do come from, because we have been so conditioned to think a certain way, to feel a certain way, and you have to realize, is this really you, or is this your conditioning? If we're really honest about it and we really think about it, yeah, most of the divisions and the problems between people who are heterosexual and people of the, sort of the LGBTQ plus groups, yeah, it's religion, to be fair, because religion's always taught us, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, or part of Judaism, yeah, it's always taught you that those sort of things are kind of wrong. I was in a conversation once, yeah, and someone said something about how it was actually made illegal for men to be homosexual, but the law wasn't actually for females, which probably makes sense to the way that we view things right now. I think that's just years of being conditioned, and also I think it's a lot to do with religion and faith, and I think that's where people, sort of face the most kind of hate and stuff from that as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with Emmanuel that you have to think about where that stuff come from. That's what I was going to talk about with preferences, because these preferences come to you because it's not a normal thing. We don't get representation in the media or in the education system, so you don't see it a lot. So you think that's your preference. It's the same thing when Black men say they'll never date dark-skinned women, they'll only date light-skinned women, and they're like, oh, it's only a preference, it doesn't mean I'm colorist. But they're not questioning where that comes from, because colorism has been embedded in Black people and the world. It's been embedded for years and years through lack of media representation and slavery. I feel like it's internalized homophobia or internalized transphobia, but it doesn't mean, obviously you don't have the intention of hate, but it's something that's internalized and ingrained into you. If you think about it, straight men date bisexual women all the time. We're represented as sexual. They like that. Let's say roles were switched and gay men were hypersexualized and women saw that as they like that. You wouldn't be saying you wouldn't date bisexual men. It's because it's not something that's put up there. It's not something you think is nice, because hypersexualization in the lesbian community is there. Hypersexuality in the gay community isn't there. So to dismantle it, we need to see it more. And the fact that they're saying if we put stuff in movies for kids or put stuff in education, it's going to turn the kids gay, it's foolishness, because gay people, we see straight people all the time and it doesn't make us straight, does it? No, it doesn't. It's so stupid. If you're born gay, you're born gay. If you're born assigned with the wrong sex, you're born assigned with the wrong sex. It doesn't change you to watch a film and see. And I'm saying unsexualized movies, because lesbian movies are very sexualized and you can tell it's two straight women playing it as well, and it's just bad. Pose was really good, but we need more stuff like Pose and real education, not sexualized. And that's how it will dismantle eventually.
So I think, again, to kind of answer the question that was originally kicked off was just, how do you address this? How do you dismantle? And I think we kind of talked about just the whole idea of preferences. Similar to what Emmanuel mentioned, we've been conditioned a certain way to confuse preferences with this phobia and not understanding the true definition of it, right? And when we talk about a phobia, or even a racism or a colorism, there's one thing to just not prefer it, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I am with a friend, I have a friend who is a gay man, and he may have feelings towards me, and we may be cool or may make a move, and I may say, hey, look, that's not my choice. I do not want to have sex with you, or even vice versa. Like, if I don't want to have sex with a gay man because I identify as heterosexual, does that make me automatically homophobic? Even though I respect and I still ally and I still am for, everything that he believes, and him living, it's not even supposed to be questioned about whether he's normal or not. Just, it is what it is, but that's just not what I prefer. Does that automatically make him offended because I don't want to have sex with him? And then all of a sudden now I'm homophobic, right? So that obviously would not make sense. But if I now believe that everything that has to do with homosexuality, everything that has to do with dark-skinnedness, everything that has to do with, men having sex with men and women is beneath you, what you believe in is more superior, what you believe it is more standard, and everything else that they are doing is alien to you, and the thought of it, the interaction with it makes you feel some type of way, makes your skin crawl. That's when the phobia, to me, you know what I mean, that's when it really becomes an issue, because lots of women don't like short men. I don't know why. I think that's you feel me? But like you brother is 5'2", you all of a sudden you like, I need to date a man that's 5'5" in my heels. And brothers is hurt. You know what I'm saying? But what you gonna charge it on? You can't charge it on heightism. You can't say, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't charge it to that. So like, but that's her preference. You want a brother that's 6'2". You don't care about his color or anything. So I just think we need to be able to learn when it comes to re-educating ourselves. We have to be okay saying, hey, look, there are people. If Nia wants to date someone that is not bisexual, it's something that's very common among Black women. It was, for those who watched the show Insecure, it happened all the time. Like, Molly ended up dating a dude who one time, you know, got some hair from a brother, and that shit changed her whole life. Like, she was uncomfortable, right? And that's a common issue that a lot of women deal with, specifically Black women who interact with a man who may have had a down low incident, or may have had a moment where he was exploring, or even just trying to figure out who he was, and now he has to keep that to himself. It happens in the trans community as well. There are tons of trans women who are killed, shot up, because a man mistaking them for a woman, didn't do the proper thing, and they want to, as trans people, they want to live a normal life and be who they feel they are, right? They want to be, you know, pleasured and loved just how they feel they are. And then a Black man or whoever they date or have sex with ends up killing them because there's an internal embarrassment that they have. That's not too far different from a white person who has sex with a Black woman and then ends up killing her because he doesn't want nobody else to know. That happens all the time, right? There's so many people, as Aaron had mentioned, historically, there's so many white, Black, brown men who are homosexual, who are bisexual, that have done so many things under the wraps, but don't write it because we as Black people do not have the pen that writes the history that people read. The world reads. We only write the history that we read. Once we start writing the history that the world reads, then we can really start putting things out in the light and what the truth really is, which is what my sister and my Zimbabwe sister said, which is that these individuals are cherished, they're honored, they were looked upon as people who could contribute to the world, who were wise, who had just as much intellect as anyone else. And all of a sudden, it's been polluted and we've forgotten it. It's been taken from us and we need to get it back.
Whenever someone says that they wouldn't date a bisexual person, I always think, okay, imagine you meet a guy and you're cool and you're like, everything's fine, you like him and everything, and you actually could imagine being with that person. And at some point you find out that he's bisexual. Would you stop dating then? And I think if you can answer that question with yes, I feel like that's you being homophobic to me, or at least biphobic. And I think if you answer that question with yes, you would have to think about what everyone else already said is why you think that and where that comes from. So it's not really adding something new, but that's the one question that I would always try to ask myself.
But I feel like it's also the same as if you're dating somebody, y'all getting to know each other, and then all of a sudden, date number 4, it's like, oh, I have kids. Oh, well, I have to go home. Like, I don't think that it's much, I don't think that it's much different, because it's like when you find out, like, for example, I was dating a guy, cool, everything was going well, and then I found out his religion, and I found out how they were drastically different. I'm sorry, we're probably never going to see eye to eye. So it's like, I don't really see the difference between finding out things in the middle of dating and like, oh my God, this is going really good. And he loves his mom, I love his family, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, you find out something new and it's like, that's kind of my deal breaker. I can't do that. So I'm saying, what's the difference?
I'm trying to find out, what are you scared of, you know? What is it something that's restricting you? Like, is that hurting you that the person is bisexual? What is it doing to you as a person?
I feel like I hear both sides. I was kind of in the middle of both as well, because I was thinking, I don't think it should be as drastic to then call you homophobic, but I think it makes you uncomfortable. And what is uncomfortable is what needs to be addressed. Because I feel like if you are dating a guy who is a great guy and everything about him is great, but it just so happens that he's dated men. I don't see why it should affect you, because it also happens that he's dated women. Why doesn't it affect you that he's dated women? No one meets a straight person and says, I can't believe you've been with other people before me. How dare you? You know what I mean? Like, it's something that doesn't happen. And that's the thing that makes people who are queer feel like you're being phobic against them, because they're like, but how come when you meet a straight person, the same thing doesn't happen? How come it only happens for me when I'm only choosing you right now? Because what people the misconception about being bi is that they're confused. They're not. They just have a bigger buffet than you. That's it. However, what I do want to say is at that moment, they are choosing you. So you should be more secure on the fact that you are the person who they want to be with and not who they've been with, and not to think that maybe they want to dilly-dally within, chicken sauce and beef. Just, Anyway, and the other thing I wanted to say about sexuality as well, I had written it down while we were talking, is that men don't get to experiment when it comes to sexuality. That's also another thing that adds on to, I want to call it jealousy, for lack of a better word, when it comes to seeing other gay men living their truth. And not because they are gay, but just because they don't have the freedom, as much as Black women, for example, who will kiss each other at a party and call it a day. Black men aren't afforded that same kind of liberty to experiment with their own sexuality. So I feel like that also then adds on to a kind of hate for people who are out there and living their truth.